Since time immemorial, humanity has used certain substances to alter its perception of reality. Among them, alcohol occupies a special place. Celebrated in festivities, used as medicine in antiquity, and turned into a symbol of pleasure and escape, few stop to question its true nature. But what happens when we observe alcohol, not from the perspective of entertainment, but from the spiritual dimension? The term Al-Kuhul, from which the word alcohol comes, has roots in medieval Arabic and refers to a black powder used in alchemy. Some argue that its hidden meaning is linked to the separation of the spirit from the body, a process that, ironically, is what happens at a certain level when someone consumes this substance. But what if the consumption of alcohol not only affected the mind and the body, but also the soul? Could alcohol be a veil that clouds the spiritual perception, preventing the connection with higher planes? In this video, we will explore the profound spiritual consequences of drinking alcohol. We will immerse ourselves in its mystical origin, its relationship with vital energy, and how it affects human consciousness. We will analyze ancient texts that warn about its effects, from esoteric teachings to the ancestral wisdom of different traditions. We will also talk about how alcohol can be a barrier to inner growth and how its consumption can open doors not only in the mind, but in dimensions that few understand. Get ready for an exploration that could challenge what you think you know about this substance, a knowledge that has been hidden for centuries and that, once revealed, will change your perception forever. Throughout history, alcohol has been both an elixir of the gods and a test for the human spirit. Alcohol, from ancient civilizations to modern times, has been used in sacred rituals, celebrations, and even in shamanic practices. But what did the spiritual and philosophical traditions really say about its consumption? The word Al-Kuhul comes from medieval Arabic and referred to a fine powder used in alchemy. However, in esoteric circles, the term had a deeper connotation. It represented an element capable of separating the essence from the being. Alchemists, obsessed with the transmutation of lead into gold, knew that certain substances could alter the balance of the body and soul, weakening the control of consciousness over the material plane. In spiritual alchemy, the process of refinement of the soul required purity in mind, body, and spirit. Any substance that altered this balance was seen as an obstacle in the path of enlightenment. Could alcohol, in its liquid form, fulfill the same destructive purpose as Al-Kuhul in ancient rituals? The great spiritual traditions have had an ambiguous relationship with alcohol. While some have used it in rituals, others have warned about its dangers. In Buddhism, the fifth precept teaches that the consumption of intoxicants clouds the mind and generates negative karma, moving the practitioner away from spiritual awakening. In Hinduism, although in some Vedic texts the soma is mentioned as a sacred drink, ordinary alcohol is seen as an obstacle to spiritual ascension. In Islam, the Quran is clear in its warning. Alcohol is a tool that diverts humanity from the path of truth. It is considered a work of Satan, as it hinders judgment and weakens the connection with the divine. In Christianity, although the wine appears in the Bible, especially in the Last Supper, many sects have condemned its abuse, relating it to sin and the loss of control over the soul. In shamanic traditions, although some hallucinogenic plants are used for spiritual purposes, alcohol is rarely part of the rituals of purification or connection with the spirits. In fact, it is said that alcohol opens portals that can attract entities of low vibration. Esoteric teachings speak to us of the energetic body and the vibrational fields that surround us. It is believed that alcohol interrupts the harmony of these fields, weakening the natural protection we have against external influences. In states of drunkenness, consciousness is fragmented, will is weakened, and the astral body is vulnerable to external energies. Is this why, in some cultures, they speak of spirits when referring to alcoholic beverages? From the ancient wise men to the most influential religious traditions, the message seems clear. Alcohol is not just a physical substance, but an agent of spiritual dissociation. What we drink not only affects our body, but also our consciousness and our connection with the universe. Alcohol has been described in many cultures as a dissolvent of the spirit. Not only does it affect the mind and the body, but it also has a profound impact on vital energy and consciousness. In this section, we will explore the esoteric effects of alcohol from a metaphysical and spiritual perspective, unraveling its true consequences in the soul. In the study of spirituality, everything in the universe has an energetic vibration or frequency. High emotions such as love, gratitude, and peace have high vibrations, while fear, anger, and attachment have low vibrations. Meditation, fasting, and connection with nature are practices that raise the vibration of the being, while the consumption of intoxicating substances tends to reduce it. Alcohol, in its essence, slows down the vibratory frequency of the human energy field. This is why, when a person drinks in excess, his aura weakens, exposing his astral body. This vibrational descent creates a state in which dense emotions, such as sadness, anger, or confusion, take control, moving the person away from his spiritual center. Ancient mystical traditions taught that the human being has several subtle bodies, including the astral body, which is the vehicle of consciousness in the non-physical planes. When someone consumes alcohol in large quantities, his astral body becomes unstable, facilitating the intrusion of external energies. It is said that certain entities of the low astral, beings that feed on the energy of dense emotions, find in the states of drunkenness a portal to influence the psyche of the individual. This is why, after a night of excesses, many people feel a feeling of emptiness, depression, or even anguish, as if something alien had adhered to their energy field. In some shamanic traditions, healers affirm that certain negative spirits can temporarily possess a person through the consumption of alcohol, making him act in ways that he would never consider in a state of full consciousness. There have been documented cases in which people under the effects of alcohol have committed acts that, in sobriety, seem totally alien to their true being. Another of the great spiritual consequences of alcohol is the disconnection with the higher self, the highest and wisest part of our consciousness. When the physical body is intoxicated, the mind is clouded, and the inner voice becomes inaudible. This state of unconsciousness prevents introspection, blocks intuition, and weakens the connection with the divine. In the tradition of yoga, it is taught that meditation and the control of prana, vital energy, are essential to achieve enlightenment. However, alcohol interferes in this process by altering the energy flow of the body and blocking the centers of energy, known as chakras. The third eye, ajna, the seat of intuition and spiritual vision, is especially affected, becoming opaque and disconnected. The chakra of the solar plexus, manipura, which regulates will and self-discipline, weakens, making the person more likely to lose control of their actions. The chakra of the throat, vishuddha, in charge of communication and truth, is distorted, causing many people under the effects of alcohol to say things that they then regret. By disconnecting from the higher self, we lose the ability to act from wisdom and discernment, leaving ourselves at the mercy of unconscious impulses and desires. From a karmic perspective, every action we take has a consequence in our spiritual evolution. If alcohol leads us to act uncontrollably, we generate karma that we must then balance. Irresponsible actions under the influence of alcohol can bring consequences that last far beyond a simple hangover. Broken promises, hurtful words, or aggressions can generate karmic ties with other people, which we must then resolve in this life or in future lives. Alcohol abuse over time can become a karmic prison, repeating cycles of self-destruction and spiritual disconnection. In the vision of karma, alcohol consumption not only affects us physically, but it can also delay our evolution on the path of awakening. Esoteric traditions teach that the reality we experience is nothing more than a reflection of our inner state. Mental clarity and full consciousness allow us to see the world with lucidity and understand the energy patterns that govern our existence. However, alcohol introduces a fog in this perception. Under its influence, the mind becomes more susceptible to illusions and deception, and the individual can lose the ability to discern between the real and the false. In inner alchemy, this confusion is seen as a form of self-deception that moves the human being away from his purpose and mission in this incarnation. Mystics have described the process of spiritual awakening as the dissipation of the veils of illusion. When a person seeks the truth, he must cultivate a clear mind, a pure heart, and a strong spirit. Alcohol consumption acts in the opposite direction, generating more veils and making it difficult to connect with universal wisdom. The concept of soul fragmentation has been explored in many mystical traditions. It is said that traumatic experiences, acts of unconsciousness, and decisions that contradict the inner voice can cause a fracture in the unity of the being. When someone drinks in excess, it is common for them to experience moments of amnesia or loss of control. These lagoons are not only a memory failure, but they represent a temporary breakdown of the energy field. Each episode of drunkenness can further weaken the cohesion of the soul, making the person feel disconnected from himself over time. In many ancient cultures, shamans and mystics spoke of recovering parts of the soul as a necessary process for spiritual healing. Those who have abused alcohol for years usually describe a feeling of emptiness, as if they had lost a part of themselves. From an esoteric point of view, this phenomenon is not just a metaphor. It is an energetic reality that needs to be addressed with practices of spiritual reintegration. One of the fundamental laws of the universe is the law of attraction, which establishes that our vibration determines what we attract to our lives. Alcohol alters this vibration, making us tune in with lower frequencies. When a person drinks frequently, they can notice that chaotic situations begin to surround them. Conflicts increase, relationships become more unstable, and unexpected problems arise. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of a resonance with discordant energies. The great sages have always taught that the path to a harmonious life requires purity of thought, emotion, and action. The substances that alter consciousness can interrupt this balance and make the person move away from their highest purpose. Esoteric teachings speak of the existence of spiritual guardians, entities of light that protect and guide souls on their evolutionary path. However, it is said that these luminous presences work with the consciousness and will of the individual. When a person drinks too much alcohol and loses control of his mind and emotions, these guardians cannot intervene with the same force. In this state, the person becomes more vulnerable to external influences, whether they are dense energies, destructive thoughts, or entities of the lower astral. This is the reason why many ancient cultures saw the consumption of alcohol as an act that weakened the connection with the divine. It was believed that the spirit should remain firm and rooted in its center to receive guidance and protection on its path. To this point, we have explored the spiritual consequences of alcohol, the fragmentation of the soul, the distortion of perception, the attraction of dense energies, and the disconnection of the higher self. However, esoteric wisdom not only warns about dangers, but also provides tools to heal and regain spiritual clarity. Next, we will explore practical and spiritual methods to clean the energy field, restore the connection with the higher consciousness, and strengthen the inner will. Ancient spiritual traditions have always taught that the purity of the body is the reflection of the purity of the soul. When the body has been affected by substances that weaken its energy, it is essential to initiate a process of physical and mental detoxification. Conscious fasting allows the body to eliminate accumulated toxins and restore its natural balance. In many traditions, fasting is seen as a tool to cleanse both the body and the mind and the spirit. Depurative infusions. The consumption of herbs such as cardomarine, lion's tooth, and nettle can help clean the liver, the organ most affected by alcohol. Solarized water. It is said that drinking water exposed to the sun in a blue glass container helps to recharge vital energy and cleanse harmful energy memories. Mental clarity. Meditation. Meditation focused on breathing allows the mind to calm down and regain control over thoughts. Automatic writing. Registering thoughts and emotions in a diary helps to release mental blockages and unconscious behavior patterns. Conscious silence. Spending time in silence without distractions or external stimuli strengthens the connection with the inner voice. The aura and chakras are severely affected by alcohol consumption, weakening and generating energy cracks. To restore energy flow and regain balance, it is necessary to work on the healing of the subtle field. Baths of salt and herbs. Submerging in water with sea salt and plants such as rosemary or lavender helps to eliminate accumulated negative energies. Grounding exercises. Rooting. Walking barefoot on the ground or grass strengthens the connection with earthly energy and stabilizes the energy field. Cleaning with sacred fire. Lighting a candle or burning incense with the intention of purifying personal energy is a practice used in many shamanic traditions. High vibration sounds, mantras, Tibetan cuencos, and solfeggio frequencies can harmonize the chakras and repair imbalances in the aura. When alcohol disrupts the connection with the higher self, it is essential to restore the bond with the divine essence. This requires a constant practice of introspection and spiritual openness. Prayer and devotion. No matter what belief or tradition, the act of elevating a sincere intention strengthens communication with the divine. I work with sacred symbols. Meditating with sacred geometry, such as the flower of life or the Sri Yantra, helps to align consciousness with higher planes. Visualization of the cord of light. Imagining a golden ray of light that connects the crown chakra with the infinite is a powerful technique to restore the spiritual connection. For those who have used alcohol as an escape route or a social habit, it is important to reconfigure the relationship with this substance and with one's own identity. Techniques for internal transformation. Affirmations of power. Repeat phrases like, "My body is a temple of pure energy," or "I am in harmony with my true essence," helps anchor new beliefs in the subconscious. Change of environment and habits. Surrounding oneself with people and spaces that foster consciousness and personal growth is key to sustaining change. Self-healing practices. Energy therapy, conscious hypnosis, and transpersonal psychology can help to approach the deep roots of alcohol consumption. The true spiritual transformation is not just to stop drinking, but to regain sovereignty over one's own consciousness. The vital force that used to be dispersed with alcohol can be used to expand perception, elevate vibration, and align with the purpose of the soul. The path to healing is a return to inner power, a process of reconnection with ancestral wisdom and with the light that dwells in each being. Now that we have explored the methods to heal the effects of alcohol on an energetic and spiritual level, it is time to close this journey with a powerful conclusion and a call to reflection. The journey through the spiritual consequences of alcohol has revealed to us an undeniable truth. This substance not only alters the mind and body, but also has a profound impact on our energy, our soul, and our connection with the divine. Throughout history, different spiritual traditions have warned about the power of alcohol, not only as an intoxicating liquid, but as a veil that covers perception and disconnects the individual from his purest essence. However, the true teaching is not only the danger of alcohol, but the importance of choosing clarity over confusion, consciousness over illusion, elevation over stagnation. If something has taught us this journey, it is that the key is not in prohibition or fear, but in profound understanding. Every human being has the freedom to decide what he consumes, what he allows in his body, and what he feeds his soul. But with that freedom comes a great responsibility, that of being aware of the consequences of each choice. Spiritual awakening is not about denying the material world, but about learning to navigate it without being a slave to its traps. It is possible to live with fullness, joy, and connection without resorting to substances that fragment energy and weaken the spirit. If you have come this far, it is because in the deepest part of your being there is a search, an internal call to clarity, balance, and expansion of consciousness. And that is the true key. To return to yourself. Reconnect with your power and vibrate in your maximum expression. The decision is yours. You have the power to transform your energy, to restore your essence, and to walk towards a higher version of yourself.